Hello, my name is Joshua Contes, and we'll be talking about an introduction to biblical hermeneutics and understanding how to interpret scripture. First off, what is hermeneutics? Hermeneutics is the study of methods and principles of interpreting the Bible. It seeks to understand what the text meant then and what it means now. Why hermeneutics matters in biblical studies. It's because it prevents understanding or misuse of scripture. It also helps to bridge the gap between ancient texts with modern readers, as well as it encourages faithful and accurate application. Hermeneutics helps us avoid misinterpretation and to read the Bible responsibly, not just subjectively. Without hermeneutics, people often read their own assumptions into the Bible, which is something that we should not be doing. The guiding question is, first, what does the text mean? Not what does it mean to me, yet that's not where we go. First, what did the author mean to say when they wrote it in that time frame? Then, how does it apply today? There's many people that make mistakes of asking the question, what does it mean to me, too early in their study of the scripture or getting the context. That's where we go next into understanding the context. That context is very important when it comes to determines the meaning of what we're reading. Words and verses must be understood in relation to the surrounding material. And there's two key types of context that we go here. So you have your historical and your literary context. Historical context is compared to when it has your time period, your culture, the author of who wrote that scripture, the audience that it's pertaining to, politics, geography, and the purpose of writing. When it comes to literary context, we have to look at the surrounding context of what it's all around, from the actual book that it's from, the section of that we're reading, as well as the type of writing, the genre that it is, if it's a narrative, poetry, law, an epistle, or prophecy. Understanding the ancient world helps clarify the confusing passages. Different genres require different interpretation approaches. Surrounding context can extend out to the entire Bible. It just depends on the verse you are trying to use. It would go from a large section of where the verse is to the rest of the book and maybe even the whole Bible. Now we're going to go into how to interpret the scripture that we read, and it is used by the introduction of the interpretive journey by J. Scott Duvall and Daniel Hayes. This model is for understanding and applying scripture. It helps move from the ancient text to the modern application. Step 1. Grasps the text in their town. What did the text mean to the original audience? Consider the historical context, cultural setting, and the language that it was written in. The key question here in step 1 is, what was the original message? Step 2. Measure the width of the river. Identify differences between the biblical audience and us. Differences may include culture, time, situation, covenant. Key idea here is recognize the gap between then and now. The width of the river will vary depending from passage to passage. Step 3. Cross the principalizing bridge. Identify timeless theological principles. Principles should be consistent with Scripture, apply beyond the original situation. The key question here in this step is, what complete truth does this passage teach? Step 4. Consult the biblical map. Compare your principle with the rest of the Scripture. Ensure consistency with the Bible as a whole. This is where we test the principle from step 3 against the rest of the scripture. Step 5. Grasp the text in our town. Apply the principle to modern life. Ask, how should this change my thinking? How should this affect my actions? This is where we turn the theological principle into practical application. This may look different for each person depending on the certain life situation. In summary, hermeneutics is interpreting scripture responsibly. Context is key. It's very essential depending on the historical and literary aspects. The interpretive journey provides a clear process to help with that. Their town, the river, the bridge, the map, and then our town. Thank you for being with me on this journey. I pray that you have a good day and now understand a little bit about the hermeneutics and how to understand the Bible a little bit more.